All right, so thank you all for coming to what I'm pretty sure is the 7th selfishly titled David Has Zoom Pro for a Few Months reading series. I needed Zoom Pro for teaching reasons, and the school didn't provide it, so I signed up for it, and I figured why not make better use of it and try to host poetry almost every month. So again, thank you all for tuning in, joining us, logging in, whatever you want to call it. And thanks to my wonderful readers for being available tonight and being willing to take part in this. We have 4 poets tonight: Laura Theobald, Prince Bush, Orchid Cugini, and Ananda Lima, and they will read in that order. And yeah, just kind of get right into it. Feel free to use the chat. I know, Zoom also has, I guess, maybe like emotions or something, reactions. You can clap, do whatever you want, or just what we typically do is just kind of yell out things in the chat during the whole reading. So feel free to use that. It's kind of the big benefit, I guess, of Zoom readings. Yelling out during an actual in-person reading would be kind of terrible. So our first reader is Laura Theobald, who is the author of the poetry books Salad Days, Kokomo, and What My Hair Says About You, plus 3 chat books. She's a PhD candidate in English at UGA in Athens, where she's completing her first novel, and received an MFA from LSU, where she served as editor of the New Delta Review. In her spare time, she designs books for independent publishers.
Great. Thank you, David, for bringing us together. I'm so excited to get to hear you guys read and just be here with all of you. I'm going to start with reading some poems that are from like a work in progress. I think David came across some of these on Have Had recently, so I thought I would read some of those, and then I'll read some books. I'll read some poems from my new book, Salad Days, too, that came out in October. So for the first part, I'm going to be staring at my screen weirdly, looking at the poems on the screen. So. And these are a bunch of like tall, skinny poems that I want to just see if I can drop one into the chat, and maybe you could look at just the first one, how they're kind of, yeah, some tall skinnies. Your erection in the aisle of fingernail polish. I might cry to the right kind of music, my knees wanting to be in some other dress, the internet like a bowl of ants. My life will end in just a sec. You could mourn my body, the things it was known for, my pain like an enormous boulder sitting pointlessly on the beach. Someone has been careless with my artichoke heart. I am looking forward to all the nice fabrics that come with age, and I plan on taking a long time to order. Look at the way the ocean sparkles when it is rained on, specifically because of how you stopped loving me. 3 days I thought of you while staring at a field. When I saw a cow, I thought of you. When I saw a goat, I thought of you. But when I saw a camel dead on the side of the road, I did not think of you then. I am not long for the fields. I once was happy like a mound of husks, but your name stayed on like an ambient sound. And when I kept your house key, when I entered your home when you weren't there and took a few things, I was just kidding, love. Some part that seemed like a castle was wanting to be pulled down. And what was in you seemed like another castle. But what is in me now is a ghost. But then again, there is a truer enemy out there, and the empty chair in the afternoon light looks like a friend. You thought to remove yourself like a forest and leave me with a heart like a lung. And it is not at all like a fleet of angels with bloodhounds. One would not wake up one morning with powerful vision, for instance, on a scorched earth, unable to cry. What now, angel dust? Perhaps you could bathe in somebody else's daydream. You double black backflip into my present and kick apart whatever's happening. When I'm vaguely happy, you strike like a grasshopper in my salad. There are many ways to live and many ways to exit this one life, and all these people to do it with. It was you, how you looked. We were made with blood to bleed, with hurt written into our bodies, some of us on the outside. You wanted me just then, when I was a crone in the mirror, a skull picked clean. Selfish boy, this is this life, and these are drugs, and we can have one but not both. Frankly, love, you do not exist, and I, for one, am tired of it. And my love, I can't stay long. I was not everything, and I can't stand it. Covered like in disappearing sheets of blood, we spill out but are never gone. A way out through someone, but I am barely someone. It begins with legs, hair, teeth. You just allow it to serve a purpose. 2, I am wanting to be filled with something. Your illness or another's rings out of my ass. To never forget anyone is the most important thing. The most important thing is a thing you can't help. I am sorry for that. But 2, sorry is my favorite feeling. The way it tickles your brain and is a trick. The glamour of enterprise. They are still stepping upon our faces, love. It was a beautiful time, stuck like worms, your wormy flesh. Death is defeated, the church sign says. Love, did you see it? I am, yes, a disease, hungry and protected in the city of television. The world is far away. Now, inside and all around us, tiny little wars. And so thanks for the hymns. So now I'll read some poems from Salad Days. Tomato poem. Boy child, you drove a tricycle over me while pulling my hair. It was thoughtful, kind of, but I was afraid that you were going to get hurt. I am totally confused. I can't wait to keep being exactly the same. It will be like having a circulatory system made out of lightning and skin like a tomato and sleeping on a trampoline every night. Ancestor poem. My heart was calling out to you, but you were wearing headphones. It was like getting your period at a funeral. It was like being run over by a train-shaped cloud. What if I still felt like a person? Then I would not feel like a not person. Then my sense of worth would no longer depend on how much you like me at any given moment. It would be like solving a long equation. It would be like watching my ancestor fall off the roof. I'm like wanting to read your comments in the poem at the same time. Diamond poem. You are like a painting that has been painted over with a less beautiful painting. I wanted to take you to an emergency shelter. I wanted to be at least as important as real estate. When I couldn't fix anything, I just burned it down. Then I was just like everybody else. Then I did nothing. Then I was like nobody at all. It was like putting a bandage on a corpse. It was really unoriginal. It was my responsibility to make people care, but all I could think about was a diamond the size of a fist. Island poem. You cherished me like something that cannot yet be experienced online. I tried to stuff you entirely into my snatch like a stack of envelopes. I insisted on becoming very useless to myself. I built an island and watched you torch it like some kind of hideous adult. The only thing left is to never think of you again, even as you were tossing me out of a boat. Sometimes you can know someone believes in you when they are trying to kill you. In fact, if I'm not bludgeoned to death with a musical instrument, I will call you a pussy. If I am caught dead without gum in my hair, I will never say you are a true gangster. If you are looking for the bottom, it is probably already in you. Ass poem. You have the finest ass I have ever touched. Great, now I'm full of despair, and I would like to be on fire. I am exactly like a Buddhist, except my yoga instructor is always telling me to stop congratulating myself. This is the only way I can reclaim my integrity. I have to keep tearing you apart. All day I dream about sparagmos. I wonder what piece of you will end up in my mouth. I hope it is a good one. And I'll read maybe like 3 more. Party poem. I did a good job inventing you or texting you or whatever it was, getting you to put your tongue on my neck. When my thoughts hit the floor, it is like waving at the wilderness from Coach. It is like saying the wrong thing at a party and somebody hugs you goodbye. This is a poem for poets. It's called Saved Poem. I have tapped into the river where poetry is always happening, and now poetry is always happening to me. It is like falling in love with a stranger. It is like accepting Jesus into your heart. Yes, I am saved. Wolf poem. You have to be more cautious with beautiful things or anything that is wonderful. I was not made to be understood. I am walking out on a limb. It is like teetering on a high branch. I am going to act really greedy while rising dramatically out of a puddle. It will be like being struck with an unendurable melancholy right in the middle of washing the dog. So one more beautiful poem. You would like me to keep looking at you the way I do. I'm like, okay, if it will keep you around. It is like pogs or marbles, little pieces of yourself for little pieces of somebody else. I want you like a hot iron down the spine. You say, I think it's beautiful and sad, and you are right. And thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Laura. I love the balance of humor and heartbreak in your poem so much. Our next reader is Prince Bush, who is a poet from Nashville, Tennessee, with poems in Black Warrior Review, The Journal, Pank, and others. A student at Iowa's Writers Workshop for Poetry, he volunteers as a poetry reader for Poetry Northwest.
Hello, let me just start my timer. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming and listening to my poetry. Okay, the first poem is titled Superstition. A man says, I am handing you the knife. I reply, I am receiving the knife. My grandparents and mother drive to the ER for fear. They don't make it back. On I-24, a 21 vehicle crash comes with no injuries. Then 2 people wreck and the interstate too croaks. With whom I grieve very much, alive. I play chess with a computer, a stale, check, or fool's mate, a bird's opening. A pawn, one night threatens me, loss or draw, and I don't develop my pieces. I'm made defensive. The bishops attack me. Sometimes the knife's placed on the table and I wait 4 minutes before I grab it. Urge. You don't understand. I was praying to die. Mud in the shower, the happening like an earthworm, potash in the manure, it's pesticide in the urine, tears. I would rev a saw to my bedrock, the nitrogen running. I would pray, dry out, and see a cube in the mirror of dirt with a towel around it, mold on the head, the pit. Exodus could have had me. To tell you about my voice. I earn medicine by acting like a virus, swells my vocal cords and makes a man and his lungs rubbed together, raspy. And I speak like I'm not high, strong so that my pitch is stable. My voice through the phone must implode the zeros and ones of their machine, the fan and air plane engine, their keyboard feet on hot coals that give up and stay to bone. Requires a male to sacrifice oneself to the binary. Once I used my natural voice. I was questioned halfway through scheduling my appointment. Who are you seeing and how are you? Today over, when the tech asks, who am I speaking with? I say Prince, and I think the confusion's with Prince, but there are certain things you know to be certain, you say. I have here that Prince is a male. Where? I don't recall naming myself, but I entered the binary to tell you about my voice. I go to purgatory and wait with who? I can only guess. Are other people deemed non-compliant? And am I to be deciding who to be on the phone? This is the opposite of ghost. I am strapped to a pipe organ and must know the ranks, the control of wind to extent of wood and metal, and play with mouth and tongue, or I don't. And then there's no sound, air, or hold music. Though it was my idea to end things, I pick up an amputated deer hoof and recall the person who grew one each night in the dark, dark, short story that spread astrological predictions I haven't read yet as a cat, wretches out of day, not during it. You're near, sighted, scratch each stitch in the intestine of a hyena, sick pride, staring through its teeth. You try to think, still, the chewing didn't begin and you can escape. Clamor, tiny, minute sound of air versus a minute sensitive air, scent dispensers fart after 30 minutes or years old with unescorted criticism following. My two skis wet, erase ink on whiteboard snow, hands not right to dexterously draw blanks on hieroglyphic curves. Let's leave to stalk warmth, I said, while leaves and stalks expire above the earth with your brainstem. Our plans, drafts, separate, assisting you in a predator's mouth. On truth, though it's usually odorless, it is so concentrated. It might stink scooting down the road of my tongue, produce more methane than cows, which are more like trumpets with thinking the climate is changing because of the air that comes out, their pipe and got wrong which key. Be fatter than breathing nitro and oxygen prescribed for my fireplace chest, getting me hyper, oxia, planum, sick with Martian craters, and ExoMars rover discovers. My irritated trachea, my hopes up, weighing a third less, higher but still falling, fall out of my mouth into tears and turn into acid, last 1,000 years in earth, memory, cause frostbite, burn, flush my skin, or leave me alone. In lieu of a doctor's note for math 115, I thought only a vulture could carry me. I was alone with alone, a loneliness, angle or angel, dependent on E, which is irrational, infinite, transcendental, an imaginary I. No, the abscess and untreated strep gave me half a week left, half a throat left, half a tube left. Needle and nurse missing tonsils. So they drove the syringe over there, missing a lump that must be bowling, ball bulk, the ankle of it up and down, feet focused, I guess. I could taste, smell the medicine. This honeypot sting, operation with sting, raises mouths and gills, breathing and breeding through the glass with gray, flat smiles, shouting sting. Ray, the knock to arrowhead, a negative length, sits cold, linear with good memory, the cold, the bottom of where I am. I can't see the peak, straight. For symmetry, who wouldn't want the same for me then? I leave unnoticed. Faucets and pipes continue leaking. The perishables call and respond their song of tuneful rot. Ants snowball and bolt toward the kitchen. Lights shut off. Then others come, eat decaying matter in solid darkness. Dust mites finish the last skin flakes. Sago palms outlive the pets, which starve or perform and escape and get attacked by predators. Ivy covers the stucco and spreads into spaces between wood siding. Silverfish tuck into the glue and acid-free paper of each title on the bookshelf. Okay, I'm looking at my timer real quick. Make sure I'm not going over. Okay. Gay and or Black. Well, I've been gray, not quite black, by you who have painted me, blent with red, blue, and yellow. A black widow's hourglass, Komodo dragon tongue, like I've bit your water, buffalo with blood poisoning, spit, and will wait centuries for you to sicken so I can devastate. As though I'm a camouflage breed and can look like you instead of at best being you. Dead alike, we could have shot each other and posted it as doppelgangers on threads, but I'm solely a stack of sticks, end rhyming with opponent. I don't want to repeat what you balled up and threw. At our face, flared nose a blowtorch, full lips scaly with grave G and E musical notes guarding you from me so that we pop 6 feet from each other, gassing in our insides, as if we died in the same place, but not close enough to die grasping each other. We were best friends, intimate before. I told you, sometimes strangers in stiff climates, 1,000 times 1,000 years before I could escape. I resent convincing any of you that I belong to vulnerable populations, that I am as human, could be as venomous as you think. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prince. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. All right, our third reader is Orchid Cugini, who is a non-binary trans woman from Staten Island, New York. They're the author of I'm Just Happy to Be Here, and maybe one of my top 5 titles for a book, I Am Going to Steal the Declaration of Independence. Their debut full length will be released in spring 2024.
Thanks, David. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Prince and Laura and Ananda. Wow, this is incredible. Yeah, it's really good. It's been reading so far. The pressure. Okay, I'm going to read from my full length that I've been working on. It's called Poetry Magazine. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit from that, and then I'm gonna do some stuff from the chapbook that came out. I'll say that, like, is everybody like in a really good mood? Like everyone's just like looking out at the universe and just feeling like everything's rosy. I'm gonna be safe forever. Me too. No, that's not how I feel. I'm reading these poems that are like explicitly about my gender. Most of them are written before I came out as a woman, but I just think they just feel really relevant this week. This one is called Floral Arrangement for a Gendered Upbringing. I became a man before I became an infant. In the womb, I built monuments to versions of myself I would never be allowed to become, a cluster of cells wildly swinging a hammer at plywood bulls and lions. I still hear my birth father wailing as I bend the neck of every nail. Quiet down, stop crying. I perform these gestures throughout puberty, bake chromosome-shaped cookies in a toy oven I'll never own. When I first learned how starfish reproduce, my bedroom becomes an aquarium, manatees in ball gowns, lobsters with mustaches and breast implants. I imagine myself tucked away in a coral-lined cave beneath the ocean bed, left alone with my tender fears and masculine sensitivity. During pickup games in high school, I imagine crossing up the prettiest boys in tall-line basketball shorts, feeling their hands on my hips in a way that says, ugh, to no one but myself. I can quell away my most delicate urges and lift the weight of a gendered burrow off my back, but I still haven't learned to wield the hammer. Okay. This one is, this one, like, I wrote a while ago when these things weren't as popular as they are nowadays. It's called Floral Arrangement for a Gender Reveal Stunt Ends in Texas Plane Crash. And I wrote it the day after I read an article titled Gender Reveal Stunt Ends in Texas Plane Crash. So, before a clownfish is born, its family is to gather in the belly of a whale and contemplate which microaggressions are best fit for the larva. This phenomena is called sequential hermaphroditism, and it is a process similar to how the octaves of my voice fluctuate depending on the aggregate count of camo in the conservatory. I curl my tongues around the concept of male, hold my fictive consonants close as I fuck myself in a Sephora, browsing perfumes for the apocalypse. The governor follows me into a gender-neutral bathroom and demands an annotated list of every instance where I've cross-dressed. I must provide this to the state in 14 minutes, or I will be forced to defecate in the urinal. My feminine melancholy, my masculine hysteria. Hearing sirens in the courtyard as the SWAT team busts into the stall, I look the governor in the eyes and present him with a peony. Okay. I'm gonna do this one. Wait, actually, let me do this one first. Quick little like description of this project. So yeah, it's called Poetry Magazine. I wrote it when Don Scherrer was still the editor of Poetry Magazine. And like, I'm just not a great editor of Poetry Magazine, in my opinion. But yeah, there's like basically like three kind of segments to like kind of like what's going on in this book. There are floral arrangements for things that I want to bury. There are bouquets for things that like I want to celebrate. And in some of those instances, they're like, you know, like victories, I guess. Anyway, and then there are like little shorter poems that are like called special edition. And yeah, this is like one of the special edition poems. Special edition, issue for poets conceived from assaults, then later adopted by a Catholic family. My existence is not a miracle, but a sin. And oh, how quickly I grew tired from pretending otherwise. That's all that is there. It's a long description for a very small poem. Okay, and this next one I wrote after Aiden Aragon. They're one of my favorite poets, like theory on poets. It's like doing it these days. They really like, especially their stuff on gender. Just really gets to me. And this I wrote the day after Sophie died. So this is like kind of a poem for. It's after Aiden, and it's for like Sophie. Bouquet for the man using a homophobic slur at the gas station on Pleasant Valley in Oldthorpe. When I yell, say that word to my fucking face, he struts out of the convenience store to a sunny Wednesday sun that will kiss his gender like a newborn calf. And within this limited capacity of existing, I have no choice but to count this as a victory. And yes, it would be easier to think of violence, so I will. On the Christmas morning of my third living year, a trans woman's body was found under a bed at the Duchess Hotel in New York City, and I'm still mad about it, still pouting over the toy oven I didn't get because it was for girls, still singing I want to dance with somebody as I step on the neck of Venus Extravaganza's murderers. I still want to feel the heat. I want to feel the heat. I want to feel my femme friends walk into a club or a bar or a pool hall without worry. Still want to hold my infant self close and paint her nails in matted Leonardo blue. There is blood on the dance floor, and for once it's not mine. So baby, come and try. I don't want to die from looking at the moon, but when I do, let it be disgusting. Let all my enemies lick my neon entrails. Let the homophobe at the gas station choke on the bones of words we murdered a decade ago. Let my limp wrist wrangle the neck of the vultures who laugh before they see the fury trickling on all of me. Let it be an unspoken revolution in the hearts of every withering AMAB who is about to learn how to fight. I believe in you. So baby, come and try. All right, I'm gonna do one more from this collection, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna do one more from this collection. I'm gonna pivot to my chap. This one's called Floral Arrangement for Spending 5 Days Being Misgendered by My Mother. I make myself into a bag. I make myself into a bag of satin. I make myself into a satin bag and fill myself. I make myself into a satin bag and fill myself with bricks. I make myself into a satin bag of bricks and plunge myself into the ocean. I make myself a brick-filled bag and I drown 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 in the he's and the hymns and 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 he's dead, he's dead, he's dead again. So yeah, that's like really like uplifting project. That book's gonna be really happy. I'm sure everyone's gonna love it. Pivoting a little bit, yeah. So as David mentioned, I wrote this book. It's called I'm Going to Steal a Declaration of Independence. You can't see it in the glare. I drew these really bad photos of my cats. So like, whereas that book is like more like about dealing with trauma, this book is more of like a sort of like celebration of like anarchism. I do a lot of like organizing, a lot of mutual aid work here in so-called Austin with the unhoused. So like I started writing this like right around the time pandemic happened, and then finished it during it. So like, yeah, I want to read one poem. It's the worst poem I've ever written. It is, you know, like when poets do that thing where like they're like sitting around somewhere and they're like doing that like thing where like they read poems to each other and like or like reciting them from memory, and it becomes this like big poetic gesture. anytime that happens, I always read this Billy Collins poem called Cheerios, because I like to troll people. That's like a thing I really like to do. I really think it's the worst poem ever written. I'm gonna read it first. One bright morning in a restaurant in Chicago, as I waited for my eggs and toast, I opened the Tribune to discover that I was the same age as Cheerios. Indeed, I was a few months older than Cheerios, for today, the newspaper announced, was the 70th birthday of Cheerios, whereas mine had occurred earlier in the year. Already I could hear them whispering behind my stooped and threadbare back, why, that dude's older than Cheerios. The way they used to say, why, that's as old as the hills. Only the hills are much older than Cheerios or any American breakfast cereal, and more noble and enduring are the hills, I surmise, as a bar of sunlight illuminated my orange juice. I mean, like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, I shouts to Billy Collins and everything he's done for poetry, but I always find that poem to just be like hilarious. So I wrote my own version of it. It's called Cheerios by Billy Collins by Mark Cugini, translated by Billy Collins, a poem by Mark Cugini, born 1985 in Staten Island, New York, 2020. One bright morning in the sex dungeon at Magnolia Market, as I waited for my poppers and enema, I opened Infowars.com only to discover that I was the same age as Baker versus Wade. Indeed, I was 6 years older than when the Texas Appeals Court determined that the right to privacy does not cover acts of homosexual sodomy, which means that the Dallas Independent School District had cause when they fired Donald F. Baker because he too liked being fucked in the ass. Already I could hear Chip and Joanna whispering behind my queer and cardigan back, why that dude's got the prettiest nail polish. The way they used to say, why that dude looks like an F word. Only fucking in the ass is much older than the F word or any other noble slurs this tortured country is known for inventing, and more noble and cooler is fucking in the ass, I surmise, as a bar of sunlight busts a nut in my husband's orange juice. So yeah, a little bit different tone going in this book. I'm gonna read this one's specifically about the unhoused community in Austin and the work I kind of do with them. It's called Love Song for Burn It All, and it's after a song by a band called Rent Strike. Like a cursed dandelion, a landlord blooms from a large pile of horse shit in the middle of a vacant field where Austin police bury the bodies of the unhoused people they've murdered. I wonder where democracy goes when the election cycle is over, if the bourgeois toads yell resist as frogs swelt in the swampy fields, fanning themselves with lawn signs they count as activism. I don't have the stomach for patience anymore. My unhoused friends are either dying or being thrown in prison for being unhoused, a measure that 73 of liberal-leaning Austinites voted for. Dignity is not a policy platform. Freedom is not won at the ballot box. So I tend to my neighbors' autonomy, whisper revolution in their ears as they eat bean burritos and chase away pigs with a pack of coyotes. My comrades pucker their perfect lips and blow the wispy heads of the pathetic lairds to smithereens. We watch their pollinated skulls evaporate in the sunlight, and there's nothing I can do but smile. This is another love song one. It's called Love Song for My Idea of Fun. It's another poem after a anarchist punk band called Wingnut Dishwashers Union. When we tell the last billionaire we're sending him on a mission to colonize the moon and then trick him into boarding a dynamite-lined spaceship and then shoot his ass directly into Mount Rushmore and then watch in glorious ecstasy as the slave owners' faces explode and expand, and then, because of some land-backed Duce Schmacina that I forgot to explicitly explain earlier in this book, the Black Hills were formed back to their original state before a white supremacist took a pickaxe to the sacred stone, and then all the jigoistic boners come crashing to the ground only to discover we've torched through the trauma and burned all the money and kissed each other's hands as the world we always deserved is born. So yeah, I'm just gonna read one more poem. It's the last poem in the book. Obviously, like, yeah, really shitty time right now, a woman especially. So yeah, I think like you know, it's really easy to feel hopeless right now. I like been taking a lot of joy in terms of like some of the organizing efforts that I've been doing. I think that like the thing about mutual aid is that like it does allow us to kind of like take power like back into our own hands and do things without the government. And that shit's like really big and important. I just highly recommend like whatever you're doing right now, like what else can you do like for your community? Like how else can you show up there? If you have privilege, can you put your body on the line for people? Can you do other things that aren't just giving money to people? Yeah, I just highly recommend just like trying something different. The impact's important as hell. And fuck all if it doesn't do a lot for like your mental stability in times like this. So yeah, this is the title poem of the book. It's called I'm Going to Steal the Declaration of Independence. I made it this far without mentioning utopia because I reject the notion that I can manifest joy from the piss-soaked corpse of this democracy. Fuck this country and what it thinks it stands for. When I dream of liberation, I dreamed a burrito with Chase, a falafel sub with Mike, a new handball for Aiden, a new half pipe for Marty and Nick and Jamie, people's justice for Garrett Foster, the charges dropped for Jose, a new backpack and stable housing for Floyd, a long hug and 1,000 gallons of cookie butter ice cream for Lane, an orange rind in my pocket and a burning president at my feet. Everything I love is a crime. And just like I always have, I will let myself die trying to suckle the nectar of every luscious felony until everyone I love is the glittering beacon of freedom they've always deserved to be. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you so much, Orchid. Truly some of the best titles in poetry, and I can't wait for spring 2024. I hate when someone's book is over a year away. I'm sure it's no picnic for you either. I mean, you have to wait with all anticipation, but I really kind of want to start reading it soon. All right, our final reader. Ananda Lima's poetry collection, Motherland, is the winner of the Hudson Prize. She is also the author of 4 chapbooks, Vigil, Tropicalia, Amblyopia, and Translation. Kind of paused there, so I was making sure I got that word right. Her work has appeared in the American Poetry Review, Poets.org, Kenyon Review Online, Gulf Coast, Pleiades, and elsewhere. She has been awarded the inaugural Work in Progress Fellowship by Latinx in Publishing, sponsored by Macmillan Publishers for her short story collection, Craft. She has an MA in Linguistics from UCLA and an MFA in Creative Writing from Rutgers, Newark. You can find her at Ananda Lima.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. This is really lovely. What a good way to start Friday. And you're also amazing. That was like so good. I'm going to get like all your stuff. It's just so good. Thank you all. And you know, like I like typing the good lines, but it's just one after another and it's not possible. You know, that was great. Thank you so much, everybody. So I'll read a mixture of you know, the one where you stare at the screen and some in the book so I can see you a little bit. This one, the first one is I wrote after, I don't know if you saw, it's like a graph was going around on Twitter or something about what people dream in different countries, like the most common dream. No idea if it's true or not, but roughly the global north was your teeth falling out of your mouth, and the global south roughly was snakes. So that is after that. Alleged list of most common dreams by country. Half of the world dreams of teeth, the other of snakes. I dream of neither or both. A little snake lives coiled in my throat. Sometimes it zigs and zags between my teeth. When I told my friends I clenched them, my teeth, in my sleep, they said in turn, me too, me too. I wonder what they dream, these American women of mine. Do they follow the map a serpentine away to another place, another subject. These days, I have a hard time staying asleep and a hard time staying awake. All right. I'll I'll read, the tomato poem. Just I want to read my onion poem now, so I just look it up. Let's see. I'll pull it up from wherever it is. It'll just be a minute. Okay, so there you go. And it's called, I didn't even remember the name. It's called Morning. I dreamed I was a Spanish onion, no, red. And when I sliced myself above the eyebrows, my insides were white. So orderly, my structure concentric. The circles of the dead trees. These days I wake, aching. You never know if it's due to age or pandemic. Can't remember when it started. I don't cut onions anymore. Can't take that smell lingering on my fingers. I try to be gentle with my eyes. Now when I stand by the sink is to hear the soft crescendo of water filling glass and think of when you slice it the other way, how it can look like the red inside, muscles on a tie. All right, let's see what else I have here. All right, let's see. So this one, amblyopia, is like nobody knows how to say it. I only know how to say it because, I heard like doctors saying it, But it's funny because like I'm usually the one that doesn't know how to say stuff. So it's like a fun experience for me. So amblyopia is lazy eye. And I have it mildly. My son has it very severely. And just going through the whole experience with him has been very, very spinny, very weird. I found out many things about myself that I thought were like part of my quirky personality that were actually related to this. And there's inheritance and all this stuff. And there's the two eyes and there's left and right. So that's kind of like what that chapbook is about. So I'll just read one from there. Amblyopia. I close my right eye, meu olho direito, and see everything. Tudo que my mother, my father, meus pais didn't know to do then. Not a matter of laziness, the doctor says. It's more of a suppression, a lack of focus. Think of the right eye as a bully. Think of the left eye as too weak to fight. Think of the two eyes unable to work right together. And I was left, grown, done with the plasticity of a body that is still building. A gift said not to last, and I was left with the speckled Super 8, the grainy film, the faint dark surface of an old mirror. All right, and then let me see. I'll do like one happy one because I've been trying to mix it up. It's hard to like carve the happy ones. This one I wrote after like the Great American Eclipse, and I remember I was very jaded at the time, and everybody was kind of excited, and I remember bonding with a medical receptionist. We were like, man, people have too much time, the world's falling apart, what is going on? But when it actually happened, I was very, very moved. So this is about that. Eclipse. Oh, and it communicates with sort of Ben Learn and Lorca. Eclipse. Under the arc of celestial bodies in the trivial dance, eyes naked, I yawned and kept moving, unmoved by their movement. Then I looked down at a crack on the sidewalk and saw the sun-dappled light bent into the shape of the moon, by the moon. asserting herself in the sky on the ground. I imagine the moon could see me. Imagine I was the moon seeing me, small, looking down at her, trying in vain to eclipse her. I, so small in the sidewalk, surrounded by 1,000 seas. All right. Here's morning. All right, so I'll do some from the book, and then maybe I'll come back to these guys. So I'll read this one. That is a Monday poem. I'll read spring because it's spring, but this one's not happy. I love spring though, just not this one. All right, spring. It used to be that if I saw something like puddles of melted snow, the blossoming pink flowers in the suburbs, and the birds returning from the open sky, so casually shrugging at the miracle of cryo sleep, I understood spring as a gift from America, the joy of having something taken and returned. It used to be that if I said something that led to laughter released like children freed from a cage, and all that coy cocktail talk made me feel like I was happy. But now all that chatter, that crowd in the sprouting outdoor sitting in the city's gentrified, dry mud over cement surfaces remind me of the present, of naive futures, of past springs. All right. Look, here's the Monday one. All right, so this one is called Monday Between Impeachment or Something and the End of the World. I have crossed without looking. Many times nothing hit me. This morning I hummed along with the engine. In the train, caught myself before I got too loud. Now, later, riding in reverse, the sun still shines through dirt on the windows, still springs back from the glass like mirror or blade. In my head, I love mixed metaphors. I brew blade, glass, metal, and water. In my head, I can't hear myself in accent. I can't tell the difference. Morning, morning, luto, luto. I turn my concoction into fragrance, perfume, perfume, both, same speed, up its own little nostril. They smell like clean knife. They smell like nothing, like dead sunshine through glass. All right, I think I'll do maybe one more. All right. So this one is called Toast to America. Time's hard. I go back to the toaster oven. My bread still too white. I come back still too, I don't want it like that. Soggy white, come back, it's burnt. Open the door only for a second or whatever, just enough for me to get out and in and stay here, a place I fooled myself into calling home, a place here for only a second, I open and gentle and polite and harmless. And like a big bang, a billion mosquitoes come in and bite me. Like that, I overstayed. Here it went by so quickly, overstayed vis-a-vis a person in the mirror, her face soggy and toast, hard to tell the difference really from the day before. I here for so long, so polite, the whole time some see the face of Jesus on their bread. Time's hard. I had a baby and everything here. And he talks and walks. He walks and talks American. Come back. He's grown and gone someplace here, or who knows where, we'll all be by then. Times past, ports, flint, sparks, overstayed, a fool, went by so quickly, burnt. Thank you so much. Mhm.
Thank you, Ananda. I hope everyone picks up Motherland. I've been spending some time with it this week. It's an absolutely incredible book. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end. I want to thank all of my readers again, Prince, Orchid, Ananda, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing your work and spending some of your Friday night here with us. Let's have a awkward Zoom round of applause. Reaction wise, chat wise, whatever you want to do, mime it.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. And just before I forget, can we do a screenshot? Is everybody up to it?
Oh yeah, sure, definitely.
Okay.
Go here for that.
All right. Okay. So then present yourself as you're comfortable. So, there you go.
Awesome.
That's a good one.
I always mean to do that and I never
Yeah.
have so far. I always kind of forget. I should put it in my little note of things to do.
I often
Yeah,
forget.
thank you all for being here. Thank you to the folks in the audience who came out. We're actually going to have a second reading later in May. It's kind of a weird special event, but if you want to find out more about that, you can follow us on Twitter at David Has Zoom Pro. I don't know why I always say us when it's just me. It's starting to sound a little bit psychotic. The more I do it, the more I catch it and the more I feel weird about it. But yeah, thank you all. Thanks to my readers, and hopefully I will see everyone next time.